Hello students, today we are beginning with a very important section of parts of speech, that is prepositions. Prepositions, as you know, help make the sentence more clear. They help with sentence clarity. We'll get to know about it later. What are prepositions, what are some different kinds of prepositions, and what are the most important prepositions. So without further ado, let's get started with today's chapter, that is prepositions. So preposition, what is a preposition? If I have to define it, a preposition is a word that is placed before a noun or a pronoun, right? It's a word, I'm sorry about that. So we'll begin with the definition. How do you define prepositions? A preposition is a word that is placed before a noun or pronoun and it establishes the positional relation. What's the positional relation? With other words in a sentence. Positional, like how is, see, I write A and at the same time I write B, C, D, E. So if you see B, it is surrounded by A, D, C, and E, but they are all in different positions to it. So this is its positional relation with all of them, right? So if I am sitting on a chair, on, the word tells you I'm sitting on a chair, right? But if I'm sitting in a chair, it means that I'm leaning in comfortably. So that becomes in. I'm sitting in a chair. Similarly, he's sitting on a stool. She committed the mistake in spite of. In spite of is a bit of a difficult preposition. We'll discuss it further. But yes, this is also, it defines the positional relation. And the ball went across the boundary. Where did it go? Like this is the boundary, and it crossed it. So it went across. We'll just go ahead. We'll begin with some important prepositions and how do we use them. So the most important thing for you is to know that prepositions are words that come before a noun or a pronoun and they establish the positional relation with other words in the sentence. We'll begin with one of the most common prepositions of all time, that is in. You use in your everyday life multiple times. Every third or fourth sentence that you use, the word in is used. So how do we use it? One is that you can show the position inside a premise, right? I am in the room, I am in the classroom, she is in the classroom, we are in the ground, right? We are in the hall. So when we are in the living room, when we are talking about being, so if this is a place and if a person is inside it here, they'll say that they are inside the premise, yeah, in a premise, right? So this is where in is used. The other is to show the position in big countries, cities, or areas. I live in India. Mayuri lives in Pune. You know, uh, the president lives in New Delhi, right? So these are the also the cases where in is used. Then another very important area that it highlights is to show time or the seasons. For example, Chitra was born in July, not on July. Then you have to mention a specific date. Chitra was born in July. I went there in the summer, right? So in is also used to show time or seasons. Teachers' Day falls in September. Anything, any of the months that we are mentioning, they would come with N. Any of the seasons that we are mentioning, it is very chilly in winter. I discovered my love of the rains last uh, autumn or summer. So whenever we are talking about seasons, then we use N. In addition to that, to show occupation and activities, like where do you work? He works in a plastic factory. In. What is she doing? She is busy in cooking, right? So if someone is occupied somewhere, or if someone is doing something, someone is participating in an activity, if something, if someone's job is something, or if someone is just preoccupied with something, we can say that they are in whatever work that follows or the place that follows, right? Moving on, into. Now very similar to in, but into means, like, if, see, this is a room, and if you are already here, then you are in. But if this is a room, you were here, and then you decided to go in, now this would be categorized as into, right? So basically it shows movement from outside to inside. All right, this is into. So Hari jumped into the river. Before jumping, he was outside the river. Once he has jumped into the river. The manager came hurriedly into the cabin. So he was outside the cabin, but then he came into it. So that's how you use. Also, if something is changing its state, and if you have to show it, like to show the change in the state of something, you'd also use into there. For example, milk is converted into curd, right? Cheese is modified into cheese pakora. Like, see, again, similar thing is happening. It was something else earlier, and then it transforms into something. So it has to go from the outside to the inside. Moving on. At, again, very important preposition. At is initially it's used to show time and definite place. If I know there's this exact place that is there, I can use that. So for example, I get up at 7 a.m. As simple as that. 7 a.m. is fixed. She was at the conference. Conference is fixed, right? It's a definite place. So I definitely know that the conference, which conference we are talking about, where they are at the conference. All right. Also, it's used before colony, village, or smaller areas. For example, I live at Mandavli in Delhi, right? At Mandavli in Delhi. We have used in earlier, right? So before the names of the cities, in is used. Similarly, she studies at Pitampura. Pitampura is a smaller area of Delhi. So again, we are using at. She studies in Pitampura would be wrong. Moving on. It also, at is also used to show the rate of something. If I'm buying something, if I'm selling something, if it is if some or the other transaction is happening, I can use at to associate it. For example, mango is sold at 60 rupees a kilogram, right? Milk is sold at 50 rupees a liter, 50 a liter, right? So I'm comparing it, I'm letting you know the rate or the price of it, so I'll be using at with it. Another case is if I have to show some special place, right? Like I know there is this particular place, there's a city, okay, there are a lot of places here. But if I'm pinpointing it to this particular place and I know this is what I'm talking about, I'll use at. For example, the BJP headquarters is at Firod Shah Kotla Road. Bal Bhavan is at Deen Dayal Upadhyay Marg, all right? So this is how we use at. We add the uses of at in our day-to-day language. The next preposition is on. See, on is a great word, great word. Imagine this to be a table. It's a very badly drawn one, but okay, we will do what we have. And if there is something that is on top of this is an object. So this object is on top of it. So we'll be using the word on here. The preposition that is used here would be on, right? The pencil is on the table. The cat is on the porch, right? So if something is positioned directly above something, it is called on it. It's also used before day and date, specific days and specific dates. I shall go there on Tuesday. She was born on 30th July. Children's Day is celebrated on 14th November, right? So if I'm talking about a particular day or a date, I'll be going, I am on a vacation on Monday. So if I'm using a particular day or a date, I can use on with it. Upon, wow. Upon is again like in and into. You see, if you see in and into was derived from it, right? So into has in it. Similarly, upon has on in it. So something has to be derived from it. What happens is, see, if something is on top of it, it is on. But it's already been there. It's always been there. So you can say just it's on there. But if I notice, and this table was there, and then all of a sudden this ball fell on its top, then I'll say the ball, I threw the ball upon the table. So there has to be definite movement here, right? Definite movement is very important whenever I'm using upon. Like for example, this one person is there, and then this other person comes along, and they trip and they fell over, they make contact with the other person's body, they are falling upon the other person. Like mentioned here, she fell upon him, right? Buses move upon the hilly roads, not on the hilly roads, because this is the road, right? It's been already there. The bus, it's in motion, it's moving, it's not still, right? So anything that is on something but also has its own movement, also has motion, we use upon with it, right? Moving on. To. Now to is very important. How is to used? I just used to and you realized it, right? So to is used. The first thing is it shows the change in place. Like if I am at position A and if I change my place to position B, it will be said that I traveled from A to B. Get it? So Mahi goes to school. She was at home earlier. So Mahi goes from home to school. So that's how to comes to be used here. Maninda went to Shimla. He could have been at any place in the world, but he was not in Shimla. So when he went from there to Shimla, we use the word to. Again, we can also compare two nouns or pronouns with the use of to. She is junior to me. I am elder to my brother. All right. So these are both examples of how to can be used as a degree of comparison as well, in addition to being, showing the change in place. Next, we have by, not the BYI one, that's by. This one is by. This shows the doer. This is very important whenever there's whenever the predicate part, the verb part of the sentence is being used, always look out for by where it is so you can, immediately identify the doer. He was beaten by us. So us is the subject here. Beat is the verb. He is the object. It's a indirect speech. Passive voice we'll learn. We have a. This is passive voice, not active. We will learn this in the active passive part. But yeah. So you see, beaten by us. Who is the doer here? Us. Trains run by electricity. What do trains run by? Electricity. So electricity is the doer here. Alright. So this is how by is used, like to know what transpired the verb. Also, it can show mode of transport. Very common use of by is to show the mode of transport. He went to Delhi by car, he went to Patna by train, he went to Amsterdam by flight, right? So by, whenever you are using, whenever we are letting someone know the mode of transport, we use by. I go to school by cycle, right? Similarly, mode of transport, it will always come with by. And the last and final use of by we have is to show time, and that too usually it's used in future tense, right? So always remember it's future tense. Whenever you are using by to show time, it will only be in future tense. I need the work complete by Monday. You should get this done by tomorrow, right? So whenever I'm using by, it will always be in future tense. He'll complete the project by Monday. They will come back by next week. You should complete the syllabus by next month. Revise the chapter by tomorrow, right? So whenever you are using future tense denoting time, you can use by to go with it. Next up, we have with. Now with is very with is very common, again very important tool, very important preposition. And the first one, if you are using a tool, if it's an object, you can show the relationship with the subject. In this example, he is cutting vegetables with a knife, right? So cutting vegetables, this is cutting is the verb, vegetable is the object, right? And so what is he cutting it with? With a knife. We will beat him with a stick. We will beat him, okay, but what will you beat him with? With a stick, right? So everything, this is the doer, this is the verb, this is the action, and the relationship between them is shown by with. All right. Next, to show togetherness, I play with him. This boy is holding a bat. There's this boy is bowling to him, right? So they are playing together, and he will say that I play with him. All right. Similarly, he could not talk with me. They were not in talking terms, or he missed talking to him, or he just left before he could start the conversation, so he could not talk with him. Conversation point of view, this will be used. Next up, we have from. From again, very important. From is initially used to show the source of something. Milk comes from cows. I love the verses from Macbeth, right? So which verses? The ones that are coming from Macbeth, right? Where does the milk come from? It comes from a cow. I come from Delhi. Someone comes from Punjab, right? So that is the source of them. Sunlight comes from sun. Anything that has a source, it can, we can use from to denote the source. Second, we have a positional relation. Positional relation means something that was there earlier but is now. It has changed. Like a thing is in here, it's position 1, and now it has gone to position 2. So we'll always say that it came from position 1. As you can see, we use to denote position 2, so we'll use from to denote position 1. Mohit had come from the school. Aliens come from the space, right? So they go, like Mohit has come from the school. Okay, he has come, but where has he come? He has come home. Okay. Aliens come from the space, but where do they go? Where do they come to? They come to Earth. Mohit comes to home, but where do they come from? That is the question that is being answered. So if we are asking the question where was their original position, then we use from, right? Next up we have between, very easy. It is used to talk between any two nouns and pronouns that are available, right? So this is where I use between. I have this bunch of bananas. I'm very bad with drawing, so just bear with me. This bunch of bananas, I have to distribute it between Ram and Hari. So this is Ram, this is Hari, and I'll be distributing it between them. Distribute the fruits between Ram and Hari. He slept between me and his brother. So this is me sleeping. This is his brother sleeping, and then he comes along and he sleeps between us, right? So he's sleeping between one noun, that is me, and the second noun, that is his brother. Both of these are nouns, and this is him, between us, right? So this is between two nouns or pronouns whenever they are available, and I have to tell something that is merged within them is in the middle of them, we use between. Among, now see, similar to between, among is also used, but when there are more than two nouns or pronouns. See, there is people people everywhere. So imagine there are 5 boys, all right, and 6 boys, and I have to distribute apples among them. So these apples I cannot distribute between them because there are more than 2, right? I'm sorry. So whenever it's more than 2, you'll use among. Distributed the apple among children. Government had decided to go among the public. The public is a large figure, right? It's so many numbers. So you cannot go between them because between is only used between when we are using two nouns or pronouns. Whenever there is more than that, we'll go for among, right? Next. Before. Before is used to show the order of the two or more events that has taken place, one after the another. So see, this is event 1, this is happening, and then it is followed by event 2. So I'll say event 1 happened before event 2, right? I came here before you. We both came here, but I came here before you. I'm the event 1. The minister resigned before the tenure. His tenure was coming to an end, but before it ended, he resigned. All right. So this happened. The event 1 happened earlier than event 2, and that is what is denoted by before. On the other hand, if I have to, mention the second event first, I'll use after. Right? I came here after you. If I have to use my second, if I have to tell about the second event first, event 2 first, I'll use after. I came here after you. The minister resigned after his tenure, right? So after is also used. About is used to describe or to say something. The boy is saying something about the picture. I know about the tactics that they are going to play. So there is something, right? And let's consider it X. And then there is this person Y. He's talking to this person Z, and he's telling something to him about X. So he is talking about X to Z, right? The boy is saying about the picture. I knew about the tactics. This is how about works. Now, due to is another very important preposition. Due to is used to show the reason of a consequence. So something has already happened, right? This event has already taken place. And what I need to do is to tell someone why it happened, right? So when I have to let you know why it happened, I have to give a proper reason. So this reason, as you realize, when I'm giving it, I use the word due to, use the preposition due to with it, right? His absence is due to heavy rain. So it was raining heavily, he could not come. So his absence is due to heavy rain. His failure is due to his poverty. His economic condition does not allow him to do stuff. So his failure is due to his poverty. So this has already happened. His absence, he has not come here. His failure, he has failed. So now I'll be telling the reason. Heavy rains is the reason here, poverty is the reason here, and I'll be using the preposition due to make my point clear, right? This is how due to is used. In spite of. Now, see, in spite of is used when an action is done with the conditions that are unfavorable. All right. So, like if I want to play, right, and it's raining, even after that, if I managed to play, I played in spite of the rain, right? This is how we use in spite of. When an action is done with unfavorable conditions, like in spite of his property, he managed to educate himself. So he did manage to educate himself. This is what the work is done. And this was done in spite of him being poor, right? So that is why unfavorable conditions, but he still managed to do it. That's why we'll use in spite of. He came here in spite of his busy schedule, right? So schedule is busy, that we know, but he managed to come here, this we also know. So this is in spite of, challenging conditions, and yet he managed to do it. That's what is happening here, and that is how we use in spite of. Next and finally we have in front of, right? Before we go that, there is also the word despite. All right, and despite is used as an antonym to in spite of, in some cases, not all cases, but yeah, it can be used. Despite can be used as an antonym to in spite of. All right, like despite warning him about the rains, he still came out to play, and he fell down and he hurt himself, right? So despite is used in an opposite manner of in spite of. In front of. In front of is used to show the position of a noun or a pronoun when it is opposite to the other noun or pronoun. So this is person A, this is person B. Are they in front of each other? No. This is a different road, this is a different road. But yes, if this is person B, C, and he is facing towards person A. So they are both standing in front of each other, right? So his office is in front of a theater. The post office is in front of the temple, right? So this is how we use in front of, right? Great. So yeah, these were some very important prepositions and their use. I hope you would have understood that. We'll just quickly revise it. The basic definition is preposition, a word that is placed before a noun or a pronoun, and it establishes the positional relation with other words in the sentence. Like he's sitting on a stool, he's sitting in a chair. She committed a mistake in spite of taking great care. The ball went across the boundary, right? Some important prepositions are in, into, at, on, upon, to, by, with, from, between, among, before, after, about, due to, in spite of, despite, and in front of. So these are the prepositions that we have learned. Hope you have fun with the assignments part as well. We'll come to it in the next. Make sure you do the assignment as well. And I hope you understood it. I hope you also liked it. So yeah, let's continue this with our next chapter. We'll see you there. And I hope you understood. If you didn't, you can just go through it again. If you have any doubts, do the assignments first, and then don't forget to ask us out. I hope you understood the chapter. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next class.